Hey guys, it's Ezel back with another Card Fate Vanguard weekly reveal. So hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and donate to the Patreon. Let's get this one started. Today's is one of my favorites. I got, finally, the Dragon Empire reveal, and also with a bit of, what's it called, Brand Gate reveal. I don't really like the Brand Gate reveal as much. I like the Dragon Empire one a lot more. Let's go ahead and get this started, and along the way we'll get to it. So, let's go. First up, we got the Grade 3 order for Dark States. Crawl, you insects. Play it by playing a counterblast of 1, and you get to soul charge 1. Then you choose one of your units, and it gets plus 10k power to end of turn for every 5 cards in your soul. And if your soul has 10 or more cards, you get to draw. So pretty much this is made to more support the Barrow Magnus build of Dark States because of all the soul charging you get to do, and that soul charge 1 does help. It also gets you plus 10 to pump up to your field, and you get to draw for it. But also, you know, because of how Bruce works, you could also use this to support the Bruce build. I still feel Brother Soul is better for Bruce because it does more soul charging, but I can see why you would run this to get like a final rush turn out of it and then hit for bigger numbers as you're swinging for 5 attacks. So it's a really good card. Next up, we got Direful Doll Simone, 8k base, 5k shield, grade 1, also for Dark States. Auto rearguard, when it boosts, if your soul has 5 or more cards, counterblast 1 until end of battle. Your opponent must call 2 or more cards from hand when they guard from hand during this. So that's helpful. You are, no matter what build you're doing, you're more or less guaranteed to have 5 cards in soul because of like how many times you soul charge. Now, depending on which one you're building, it might be different of when during the battle phase it will happen. If you're building Bruce, you might have to swing with this boosting first, or like you might want to boost it with the Vanguard first, or if you're doing Barrow Magnus, this would be easy to pull off regardless. But either way, it kind of locks down your opponent's hand, forces them to throw out more, so it's still a really good card. And it screws over the new PGs, which says that you only have to discard if you have 2 or more cards in hand, so now they're guaranteedly going to have to drop 2. So either way, that's really helpful. Next up, we got Casualty Goes Crazy As I Will. So, grade 2 order for Brantgate. Play it by Soul Blasting 1 and choose one of your Vanguards, and it gets plus 10k power. So that's really good. You basically put your Vanguard to either a 23, or if you're like on the Imprisonment Vanguard, that puts it to a 33. If you're on the new one that was just revealed, it puts it to 28. That's just really helpful. So it's a good card, and it's only a Soul Blast. Next up, we got Grana Road by Fair Tiger. 13k base, grade 3, Persona Ride. I don't know why I keep wanting to say gift. Also from Brantgate. Act rear guard once per turn. Soul Blast 1 and it gets plus 2 until end of turn, and then choose one of your opponent's former rear guards and imprison it. I like that a lot more than I like the grade 2 from last week. Yeah, the grade 2 from the structure deck really did help because it's an on-play Soul Blast, but this does it better because you don't have to place it. All it has to do is be on the field. You can imprison the front row and you get power out of it, and it's for the same cost. I honestly feel like this is better, and it's a really good addition to the deck because it makes it so that you can imprison more units a lot faster. So really good backup grade 3 to have for imprisoned decks. Next up, we got Grapple External. Oh, I wonder what this thing's supposed to be. Here's a hint. It's a Brantgate card. And even more importantly, I think it's a Nova Grappler card too, just based on its name, and that its text literally says it is now the Nova Grappler New Era. But anyway, skill continues rearguard during the battle that it attacks. If your opponent's card has an imprisoned card in your prison, it gets plus 5k power. So it's pretty much hitting for 15k on the average. That's a good attacker since your Vanguards normally have power, and I imagine this will be on the rear guard too. It's kind of a debate of what you should have on the board, so I think this is an extra good grade 2 to just have on the rear guard at the ready. Next up, we got Heavenly Sword of Gorgeousness, Alden, 13k base, Persona Ride as well, grade 3, and I don't know why, but I like this thing's look a lot more than I like Bastions, despite Bastion being the main grade 3 of whatever deck this would go on most likely. And then auto, when this unit is placed on rear, counterblast 2 and soul blast 1, choose a card from your hand, call it to rear, and if you called a card, you draw 2, if you called a grade 3, and auto rear, when this unit attacks, if you have a 3 or more grade 3 units, it gets plus 5k power to end of turn. So it's an 18k swinger. That's always helpful because you're most likely going to have 3 or more grade 3 units, and you also get to draw 2 cards if you called a grade 3 from its on-play skill. My only problem with this is that it doesn't have a Vanguard skill, and that kind of makes it bad. Like, you'll never have to, they'll never come into a situation where you would willingly ride this over Bastion, especially when you have the ride deck available. But, like, I guess later on in the game, when they kind of give you something that can get more drive checks, you need to switch off it, then you can go to Alden. I would appreciate if they had, like, given Alden an extra Vanguard skill just in case, but, you know, it's still a good card regardless. Next up, we got Dark Strain Dragon, 13k base, Persona Ride as well. Grade 3, I'm just going to start saying grade 3 because that makes this a lot easier. Act Rearguard if your soul has, if you have 3 or more grade 3 units in general, Soul Blast 2 and all of your grade 3 units get boosted until end of turn. So that's really good because the grade 2 that you would constantly rely on for the structure deck, it's a 15k booster, which is good, but you can have grade 3 boosters, which just makes it a lot easier because all your grade 3s get plus 2k, and that makes them 15, and you can keep that grade 2 in hand for intercepting fodder, so while all of your rear guards are most likely, if you have a whole field grade 3s Morikawa style, all your units are hitting for the 30s, while you get to keep some shield in hand, so really good card to have. It's an axe ghost, so it doesn't have to be placed. Next up, we got another order for Cater Sanctuary, Swinging Sword of Judgment, also grade 3, because at this point, they're just going to get grade 3 to support. I don't think they're ever going to get grade 1s or 2 to support. I think the only grade 1 and 2s they're getting for support are in the structure deck, and that's it. Soul Blast 1 grade 3. Choose an opponent's rear guard. Your opponent puts all of his or her rear guards in the same column as that unit on the bottom of their deck in any order. So pretty much pick a rear guard, nuke that rear guard's column. It's really easy. It's also just a Soul Blast of a grade 3. Honestly, that's pretty much just a Persona Ride, and or, you use Knight of Broadaxe from the structure deck to shove it to Soul and Soul Blast it. So, you get to wipe out a column, which is really easy to do and pay the cost for. So, good card. Next up, we got Spurring Maiden Elena. 10k base, 5k shield, grade 2 for Stoica. Auto, when this unit is placed on rear from hand, counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1. Choose a grade 2 or less card from your drop, call it to rear, and it gets plus 5k power to end of turn. So, it can be used in the Sylvan King build to, pump up your board again just in case your opponent destroyed it. Or you can use it in the Grand Blue, version of Stoica to constantly call back your units, even though it's kind of like a cost of Soul Blast and Counterblast, which honestly the Alchemagic did on its own, but it's still a good card nonetheless. Next up, Collision Mutant and Admantis. 8k base, grade 1, 5k shield. Auto, when this unit is placed on rear, choose one of your other rear guards and it gets plus 5k power to end of turn. So there's no cost behind it. You just get a free 5k, and honestly that's really good because that means a guaranteed plus 5k to the guard there in this turn. So all around, just a really good card. There's no cost to it. You don't have to discard, counterblast, Soul Blast. You don't have to end of turn shove something to Soul. Just a free plus 5. Fuck it. Good card. Next up, we got Sealed Road. Order for grade 2, also for Stoica. Play this by counterblasting 2. Choose one of your opponent's vanguards, and that unit loses a critical at end of turn. So that's really good, actually, because the other order for Stoica, because it's the most likely... Because Alchemagic is best with normal orders, you most likely put this in the Sylvan King build. This is just really good for the Sylvan King build because, yeah, it had the plus 15k power for the battle, but sometimes you just can't guard the opponent's vanguard. So sometimes they just gotta drop their criticals. Just counterblast 2, minus the crit. Screw you, you can't hurt me. Unless you drive check triggers, but that's a different story for a different day. So, just to add a helpful scenario, just in case you cannot guard the vanguard for whatever reason, you can at least nullify their criticals unless they, of course, draft check crits or they got extra crits by abilities. Next up, we've got another Brandgate card, Super Speed Robo Shovel Stud. 8k base, grade 1, 5k shield. Act rear once per turn, counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1. Choose one of your opponent's rear guards and imprison it. Then if there are 3 or more cards in your opponent's prison, draw a card. I like this one. I still like the grade 3 better than this one because the grade 3 is only a Soul Blast, but this does get you a draw if there are 3 or more imprisoned. I just don't like that it counterblast because that means because since Seraph's Node does it for 2 for 1 counterblast and this only does 1 for 1, it's not as efficient as Seraph's Node, and I don't like wasting the counterblast for if the game goes on long enough. But he's still a good card nonetheless to have just to get some draws. So I'd say a 2 or 3 of. And another card for Brandgate. Brandgate just got a lot of reveals this week. Fighting Dragon, Gore Dog Dragon. 10k base, 5k shield, grade 2 with intercept. Auto, when this unit is discarded from your hand during your turn. If you have a set order in your order zone, counterblast 1 and call this to rear. I don't know how you would discard this. I don't think one of the new cards discard. Then again, I may be wrong because I only read them twice, so I may be wrong on that. But that's still good nonetheless because you can just get it right back and get another attacker out of it, so good card. And speaking of which, we're on to today's main reveals. My favorite. Normally how I do reveals is I do it in order I saw them first, which technically speaking, that would mean Dragon Empire would be first. But I love Dragon Empire so much, I wanted it to be the ending of this video. So Brandgate goes first. Also because I just really hate the Brandgate one for some reason. A lot of people are going to talk shit about this, but I really don't like the Brandgate one. So first up, we got the starter, Cardinal Fang Fovi. 6k base, 5k shield, auto when it's rode upon. If you win second, you get to draw. Basically a standard starter. This is pretty much like I would say it's more the Stargate build, but then again, so was the Start deck. It was kind of the Stargate build. This kind of fits in more because it reminds you of Starvaders, so I feel like this is the Stargate build. Then we've got Cardinal Noid Rotis, 8k base, 5k shield. Auto when it's placed on advanced, search your deck for up to one world card, Zawoldo, and reveal it and put it into your hand and shuffle your deck. Continues rear during the battle that this unit attacked or boosted. If your world is Dark Knight or Abyssal Dark Knight, it gets plus 2k power till end of turn. Permanently. So that's really good. It's a 10k booster, and it does the same thing as like the other grade 1 does for Brantgate, where you just when you rode upon it, you search your deck for set order, because the worlds are set orders, and you can add them to hand. So really hopeful card, and he really, really looks like a Starvader. Like, I can't be the only one who thinks this, right? He looks kind of like Photon or the thing that can lead you with Blaster Blade Joker. God, he looks so familiar. I swear it's him, just in the V-Series version. And speaking of order, we got 2 reveals for orders actually for this new deck, but let's go one at a time. First up, Howling Moonlit Knight. I don't know why, but I like the name Moonlit. It's just beautiful, majestic. And it's a grade 2 order with a beautiful wolf staring at a red moon. After the set order is played, you put it into your order zone, play it by Soul Blasting 1, and auto when it's put into your order zone, draw a card, and continues order zone. If your order only has world cards, the following effects activate according to the number of cards in your order zone. One card exactly, your world becomes Dark Knight. 2 or more, it becomes Abyssal Dark Knight. So, pretty much, if you can't tell, this deck is very heavy on having either Dark Knight or Abyssal Dark Knight active. Thankfully, you can set multiple set orders in the order zone so that you can easily hit the Dark Knight or Abyssal Dark Knight, but guaranteedly, no matter what, if you set this in the order zone, it's going to become Dark Knight regardless. And you get a free draw out of it when placing it, so still a good card. Next up, we got Cardinal Noid Kubisia. 10k base, 5k shield, auto van. When a world is placed into your order zone, choose one of your units and it gets plus 5k power to end of turn, so it can be your van, it can be anything. It continues rear during your turn if your world is Abyssal Dark Knight, it gets plus 5k power. So that means it's a 15k attacker. It's just all around either you can have a 15 on van when you place an order during the turn you ride it, and then it will be a 15 on rear whenever you have an order that's Abyssal Dark Knight. So good card. And then we've got another order. This is just the second one. In the Darkness Nobody Knows. So after that order is played, it goes into the order zone. It's a grade 3 order. Soul Blast 1 as well for the cost. Auto when it's put into the order zone, choose one of your opponent's front or rear guards and retire it. If your order zone only has world cards, it gets the following effect. It's the same thing as before, where your world becomes Dark Knight, and if you have 2 or more, it becomes Abyssal Dark Knight. So, pretty much, there's no difference in terms of cost, it's just a difference in terms of ability, because one gets you a draw, one gets you a retire. I still suggest running them both at the same number. You might not need to, but at the same time, you can if you want. I still suggest it just in case, like, you need them for different situations, either for that draw or for that retire. But also, it seems this deck is kind of more focused on Abyssal Dark Knight, because this one requires your world to be Abyssal Dark Knight. This one doesn't require it to be Abyssal Dark Knight, but it can be Dark Knight as well. But it seems more focused on it, and the main grade 3, the new one, also seems to focus on it being Abyssal Dark Knight, to the point where I wonder, what was the point of, one, giving us 2 different orders if they're just going to focus on the second ability, but 2, what was the point of even giving us it becomes a Dark Knight? Because none of them focus on it being Dark Knight. All of them focus it on being an Abyssal Dark Knight. I just question that, but it's fine. Speaking of our new grade 3, Cardinal Dias Orfist. A Starvader-ass looking card, and anyone who disagrees with me is clearly blind. 13k base, Persona Ride, grade 3, Brantgate, a continuous vanguard or rear guard during your turn. If your world is Dark Knight or Abyssal Dark Knight, this unit gets plus 5k power. Putting it in an 18k base, you combine with that order I was talking about earlier, it becomes a 28k base. It's easy regardless of what order form you're in. And active vanguard, if your world is Abyssal Dark Knight only, Counterblast 2 and call to 3 Shadow Army tokens to rear. Your world changes when you play a specific order. Shadow Army has 15k power and boost. So once more, I question what was the point of giving us regular Dark Knight when half of the abilities are restricted to Abyssal Dark Knight. But I guess that's something to work for, I guess, because it makes it harder to obtain. But at the same time, Counterblast 2, that's a good number. Nothing else in this deck seems to Counterblast right now, so Counterblasting 2 to get a free 3 rear guards that are 15k boosters, guaranteeing that whatever boost is hitting in the 20s. Any great, if you were to call trigger to the front row, it's hitting in the 20s regardless. But if you just pump a front row of these guys, 18Ks plus 15, that's just 33K attacks. Amazing right there. Just helpful ability that can get you really big numbers and force your opponent to guard out more. So it's actually really good. I just don't like it solely because they gave us an ability that it's kind of worthless, and that would be just regular Dark Knight. Hopefully they work towards that when they make new sets. But if you want to look at the Shadowed Army tokens, here what they are. They look kind of like, they just really look like shadows with, nope, I can't even say it more. They just straight up look like shadows. It looks kind of familiar, but I don't know what to call it. But just like I said before, 15k with boost grade 1s. And now on to my main reveal of this day, Dragon Empire. I normally am not a Dragon Empire main, but for some reason, I really wanted to see this one, and I really like it because I like the retiring more than I like overdress, and I'm really glad that this is what this deck focuses on. So first up, our starter, Double Gun of Dust Storm Bart. Auto and this unit's right upon, you get to, if you want second, you get to draw, 6k base, 5k shield. It's still the standard ability, but I just like its theme. I also like how these guys look because they have guns and pistols, and if you know me, I will take dual pistols over like a shotgun or anything else any other day, and this guy happens to have dual pistols, so kind of already in the theme with this guy. Next up, we've got Gunning of Guststorm Nigel, 8k base, 5k shield. He has lost the double gun, so I no longer appreciate him, but I still like his skill. Auto when is rode upon by Cataclysmic Bullet of Duststorm Randor, Soul Charge 1, and auto rear guard when your opponent's rear guard is retired during your main phase. Counterblast 1 and retire this unit to choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. So, pretty much, you get a free Soul Charge when rode upon by Cataclysmic Dust, which is an awesome name, by the way. I swear, all of these guys have awesome names in the Dragon Empire thing, or at least to me they do. You get a free Soul Charge, and you can kill multiple units by just your opponent's rear guard being killed. So, all around, just helpful card to have, and I just really like it. Next up, Cataclysmic Bullet of Duststorm Randall. Once more, badass looking art, badass looking name, and 10k base, 5k shield. Auto when it's rode upon by Heavy Artillery of Duststorm, Eugene, which is the only name I regret because Eugene does not strike hard and fear into someone. You walk into a room with a bunch of guns and someone asks you what your name is. If you say Eugene, I'm willing to bet $50 someone's going to laugh at you. You can draw a card and choose up to one card from your drop zone and put it into your soul. If you can't tell, this deck's kind of soul heavy, but it's still good, or soul charging heavy, and you'll see why in a second. And auto Vanna rear when it attacks. If your opponent has 2 or less rear guards, counterblast 1 and soul blast 1, and this unit gets plus 5k until end of battle. So this deck easily retires, and if you can combine this with the Drag Ritters, great, because they also get abilities, and you do a lot of soul charging. So just counterblast, get a free soul charge, get power, and you get a draw and a soul charge out of it just by being rode upon by Eugene. Now you may be wondering, where is all the soul going? And more importantly, who is Eugene? Here he is himself, Heavy Artillery of Duststorm, Eugene, with a really badass look, just conquering the desert, jumping off what appears to be a mountain with a laser gun that shoots 3 different ways with just a beautiful looking art. God, I swear, I wish this was me. 13k base, grade 3, Persona Ride, Twin Drive, Dragon Empire. If I'm going to go through the whole thing of just naming every little aspect of it, it must be important. Act Vanguard, once per turn, rest 2 rear guards, choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it, and it gets plus 10k power till end of turn. That's just a free plus 10. Rest 2 rear guards, kill something, plus 10. This is a fucking 23k. Just rest the back row and your opponent can't do crap. And then act Vanguard once per turn. If your opponent's rear guard was retired this turn, Soul Blast 5, look at the same number of cards from the top of your deck as your opponent's open rear guards, choose any number of unit cards from them, call them to rear, and put the rest into your soul. I do not need to explain why that is good, but I'm going to do it anyways. So first off, you get to kill a rear guard just by resting 2, and it gets plus 10. Then, in the deck that just soul charges as easily as Bruce does, you get to Soul Blast 5 if something was retired this turn, which is easy to do. Like, all you need at the very most is 2 hand cards to call down the board, then rest them. And then you look at top 5 equal to number of open rear guards, you call them any number of unit cards, anything basically but in order, to any rear guards that you want, and then you put the rest into soul, basically giving you back the amount, or possibly giving back the amount that you just lost for the Soul Blast to use its skill in the first place, meaning that you can use it again next turn. This deck gets so much soul that honestly, I'm kind of tempted to run Verena in this, and I feel like you can, considering how much soul you get. Straight up, Eugene, favorite unit out of all of Dragon Empire. It is now my main. My straight up mains going into Overdress. Bruce and this. I am not joking. The second this hits the street, this is what I'm getting. Well, that was pretty much the weekly reveals. That was more just me talking about my opinion of the new stuff, more than just, like, actually giving fair and honest judgment, I guess. Like, between the new grade 3s, I have a lot more bias towards one than I have the other. I admit, Orfist is a good card. It is a good card. I just don't like it because of, like, they gave us Dark Knight when you do not need it, because all the stuff is focused on Abyssal Dark Knight. If they build towards, like, a card where if you're in a regular Dark Knight, this effect activates, and if you're in Abyssal Dark Knight, this effect activates instead. If they have cards like that, then yeah, that would be a reason to put Dark Knight, but without it, that's kind of not. So hopefully they build towards that. And just in straight up regard to Eugene, I like the way they took Dragon Empire, because Verena was, so far it was just basically Verena. It's not even Nirvana, it was just Verena carrying it with Overdress, and you couldn't really retire much besides Verena Soul Blasting 2 at all at the same time, and you would only be able to use it like twice without having to constantly re-ride every turn, and you wouldn't be able to use it a lot either. So you'd have very few retiring. You have to keep counterblasting for Nirvana. Here in this deck, you only counterblast for Randor here and this guy, and maybe some of the Drag Raiders if you put them in. While you soul charge a lot, you get a lot of power out of it, and you can wipe out your opponent's board a lot faster and a lot more consistently. That's all I have to say about it. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, donate to the Patreon. We have a Discord, so you can go join that. We have a Twitch, so you can go follow that. And my second channel based off of Beyblade, all those links are in the description below, so you can go subscribe to that. And I'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to stand up your Vanity.